2 weeks later, after Efula and his plans has been set up and is in progress, 2 soldiers sat on top of an SUV in front of the palace, Tiger and 8 legs, guarding the king's palace. 8 legs spoke. I guess your woman is the best cook ever in the Kingdom of Stone. That is why she is allowed to cook for the king and in the king's palace. Tiger: 8 legs, I would take that as a compliment. Thank you very much. No. Fact, she is a very, very good cook. You are really blessed. And women with beautiful futures on their body, they can really do good in the kitchen business as well. 8 legs, Tiger, can you please still tell me how the communicator was stolen 35 years ago? Oh, that one. The great thing in the Kingdom of Stones is that no one ages, like they say, but we still die. Let me tell you a little bit about what the white man did to the Kingdom of Stone with special help from the king's cousin, Ebeku. Unfortunately for the Kingdom of Stone, Ebeku and Hakim had already master planned this program on how to sell our spiritual communicator to the white man, who already wants to test the product after cash has exchanged hands, I guess. Ebeku was the only access from the royal family that could be allowed to walk into the kingdom's spiritual communicators environment. Ebeku neutralized the kingdom's communicator. Hakim and his men picked up the spiritual communicator and they dumped it in the white man's ship. Tiger, this is very, very disheartening. Finally, what did they get to pay for a great communicator like that? Oh, that one. They paid Hakim handsomely. Hakim was really, really financially amplified. Then, when Ebeku started protesting and threatening Hakim, the white man gave Ebeku another weapon. This weapon was said to be beyond every other weapon that exists on earth. The weapon does not really look like a weapon. Tiger, a weapon that doesn't look like a weapon? What kind of weapon is that weapon? Yes, exactly. The white man gave us the Bible for an exchange to our communicator, the stone. The Bible, there is a black book they call the Bible. Rare to see it in any other color but black. Then Hakim received his cash and Ebeku received his weapon. This weapon is said to be a weapon of mass connection. Ebeku could be able to enslave as many people in the whole world as he wishes from this black big book they call the Bible. After Ebeku, the king cousin, betrayed the Kingdom of Stones, this big black book the white man gave him was said to be stronger than any weapon ever made or existing. It will help him enslave as many kingdoms as possible without fighting or touching their body. Nevertheless, Efula took his cash and paid it, and Ebeku took his big book and left. Ebeku began to practicalize the information he got from this book. Ebeku began to entrap people with the powers and information from this book. This book was said to be more powerful than any spiritual communicator ever existed. But I still wonder why the white man will take the smaller piece only to give the kingdom of stones the most mighty, the mightiest piece. Nevertheless, they took our spiritual communicator and they gave cash and Bible. With this Bible, at a time, Ebeku began to look for the head of the king himself. Ebeku began to use the forces and powers in this big black book to attract more people to himself. He was basically enslaving as many people as possible. People stood for hours without saying a word but clapping and happy, only to go back home hungry and gnashing their teeth again. People get hypnotized in minutes and seconds and hours through the powers Ebeku control from this big black book. Ebeku hypnotized Hakim to get him the head of his cousin, King Father, through the forces and powers embedded in this book. Dr. Seven was confused. His son suddenly started changing, becoming weaker and more confused, asking less questions than he understands. No, Seven knew something was wrong. Seven contacted Ebeku to destroy that big black book because it is now affecting his son, his heir, his only hope. But Ebeku refused and still challenged Dr. Seven with the powers and forces of this book. After his son has disappointed him, not getting him the head of the king of the stones, he was disappointed. He began to fight Dr. Seven through the forces and powers embedded in this book. Finally, a few years later, Ebeku built houses he called churches, where the slaves now gather. Ebeku built over 200 churches all over the kingdom of stones. The hypnotized people go right on time to that particular point, get hypnotized for several hours, only to go back home and face reality all over again. No, the king was not happy with this book. No one in the kingdom of stone was the same anymore after the entrance of this book. But as we moved on, Ebeku began to conquer villages around the kingdom of stones. Gradually, he was penetrating with his followers. Kingdoms were conquered. Their communicators were stolen. Ebeku became the instrument to steal spiritual communicators from our neighboring villages and kingdoms. Ebeku used the powers and forces from this book to obtain over 50 spiritual communicators and gladly handed it over to the white man, who gave him more Bibles, more chains, and more swords, and showed him how to control the world with the powers embedded in that big black book. And Tiger said, 8 legs, if I didn't know you well, I would have said you're going crazy right now. I mean, what kind of power or force can be embedded to a book to hypnotize men, women for hours in different areas? I mean, daze them for many hours, forgetting their spiritual communicator, forgetting going to farm, forgetting their challenges and stress, and standing on the place saying something, wasting a whole lot of time that we don't even have. Tiger, my brother, 8 legs, join. You have a good question. But somehow I think the white man must have studied us to the extent that they developed something to keep us tied as slaves. I'll rephrase that.